Welcome to Sipping on Excellence. This is Coach KJ, and I'm here with my man, my dude, the Doc.
And this is where we will be discussing the exceptional that is absolutely attainable. My friends, here's to living that extraordinary life.
Cheers.
Cheers, brother.
You should see the look on my face. I'm all nervous. Hey,
What's
Doc,
up,
what's
y'all?
going on? Welcome. Another episode of Sipping
On Excellence.
We are all sipping on excellence. All of us, me, you, him, everybody, get in it.
Thank you guys for tuning in as always.
Oh, yes. Feeling a little aggressive today.
Yes.
At the same time, tired.
A lot more of you have been tuning in on YouTube, which is great.
Yes.
This is where this is going. Hopefully, eventually, be doing all of these live at some point.
Right.
Every Saturday at 11, we go live, and it's funny because people are like, "Yeah, we caught your podcast." I'm like, "That's not the podcast, but you're giving us the idea."
Yeah, you're heading down the right lane.
Right. Got to crawl before you can walk, y'all. But no, we had a good live today, and thank you guys who all participated, and we're gonna have a good one today.
I know.
So
while you talk, I'm gonna readjust myself in my seat.
So this week, it's a special week because my ace boom coon, my dude, this fool turning 50, y'all. 50. Half a century.
The blood is curdling.
You know, and all this time he kept talking about how I'm older than him, blah, 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 blah. Welcome to the club.
But I'm still, but you know what? You still older than me.
5 little months. And so we're going to take a little break from our usual format today. And today is all about Coach. The good, the bad, the ugly.
It's probably going to be a lot of
maybe
ugly.
more of the ugly than the rest. But no, as you've gotten to know us over the past, year? Yeah. As you guys have gotten to know us over the past year, there's a lot of things that you do know about us. So I thought today I would just dive into
a year.
Yeah. Just dive into Coach's head and just get him to talk about things that you guys may not know about him or just may have been curious or it's just good conversation. But before we get into that, let's talk a little bit about this week, man. And what was learned. I'll start with me.
Yes, let's start with you.
I think what I learned, one of the biggest things I learned, which was yesterday, was just patience and, dude, don't sweat the small stuff. Because remember I told you a pothole jumped up and grabbed my tire?
Right.
And so I had to drop my car off in the morning at 7. And I was irritated, not angry. I was just irritated.
Right, because
it threw off my day.
Right.
And I'm sitting there in surgery, and I was just like, I had to laugh to myself because I'm like, you know what? I'm irritated by something that is insignificant compared to what this person is going through right now.
First world problems.
Yeah. And I was just like, why am I going to let something so insignificant ruin my mood? But we do it all the time, you know? And I immediately chuckled to myself, and it changed my day. It just instantly changed my day to like, dude, it really doesn't matter. And I've learned that I never really sweat the small stuff, but I found myself sweating it yesterday, and I had to laugh at myself. I was like, all right, this is dumb. Mm-hmm. This is just stupid. Mm. So what did I learn once again? To not sweat the small stuff.
Yeah.
It's that simple, man.
Yeah. Well, you know what? What I've learned this week, I've learned what I already knew, but somehow we always drive away from it. And however you connect to your spiritual being or whatever that is and what that means to you, I'm going to suggest that you lean into it because sometimes you get information, messages, or whatever at that time that's so necessary, and it will allow you to, here I am, let's go. So I don't know if you know this about me, but my dad and I were very connected.
Yeah.
In the sense of like washing our cars and stuff like that. So for me, I always go hand wash my car.
Okay.
So that's me having, if I need to, and when I say I have to go wash my car, that means I have to go talk to my dad.
Yeah, that's just
that's my thing.
You're connecting.
Yeah. So, the other day, some things have been happening and the energy's been going up and down, and I had to, kind of go wash my car. Right. So when I went to wash my car, and I'm just like, having my conversation, and what I got back when I got in the car, I was done. I cleaned it. I was spick and span. I get in the car and I drive, and I get to the stop sign, and I hear in my head this with a very heavy tone said, "Stay right where you are. Just sit in it and go. Just sit in it. You're right where you need to be. Just sit in it and go." I was like, "Who said that?" I said, "Where'd that come from?" And that moment, I was like, "All right, cool.
I'm here.
Cool. I'm here for it. Here for it.
Yeah.
Let's go."
And it's sounds like both of us relearning or re-emphasizing things that we've learned, that we know. Mm-hmm. Things that we preach about on this podcast. And every now and then we need to smack ourselves to be like, dude,
yes,
let's get your shit together. Let's go.
100%.
And so I think that's a good learning point.
Yeah.
That we have to continue to learn. We have to continue to teach ourselves. Have you ever had, and this is a little off topic, have you ever had those episodes or things that happen to you and you're like, somebody's looking out for you?
Yes.
Remember, I don't know if I talked about it on the podcast, but remember, did I tell you about when my brother and sister almost drowned?
No, you didn't tell me about that. I knew about the
Bank of America.
No, not the Bank of America. The surgery.
Yeah.
With
somebody saying
standing over you. Yes.
So and the reason why I brought this up because I was telling somebody about it yesterday because we were talking about how things can happen and I'm getting goosebumps just talking about it. So first episode, my mom tells a story. We were all kids and living in Florida. We go to the beach, and I couldn't swim at this time, but my brother and sister could, I believe. And so my mom's on the beach with me. My mom doesn't swim well. She lets them go in the water. Boom, go. So they're out there swimming, and she's seeing them. As long as she can keep an eye on them, she's like, they're good, because they're good swimmers. And then she's like, all right, y'all, come on in. Mm-hmm. And they're swimming, but not going anywhere.
Yeah.
And they're swimming. And so she's like, oh, shit, my kids are going to die. And this dude came out of nowhere, runs out there, scoops them up, brings them to shore.
Uh-huh.
Right? Gets to shore, and my mom's like, oh, my baby's all right, cool. Looks up to thank dude, and he's gone. Completely just like, what the hell? And my mom was like, no idea, never saw him again. She wasn't able to say thank you to him, none of that. Mm-hmm. Another instance, my brother and I and a friend of ours, we were over, West Side Pavilion.
Yes.
There was a Bank of America across the street.
You told me this one too.
Yeah. And pulling up to the bank machine, I get out to go to the bank machine. And as I'm walking up, this dude's walking by, and he's like, nah, you don't want to go to that machine. You don't want to go to that ATM. And I'm like, huh? He's like, don't go to that ATM. Cool. I get in the car, and they're like, dude, did you get money? Nah, man. Let's just go to a different ATM. That guy right there said, don't go there. Looked out the car. There was nobody there.
Yeah.
We were like, oh, shit. And so call it what you want, guardian angels or whatever you want to be. There's just certain things that happen.
Right.
Was it in my head? Something in my head telling me don't go there? Who knows? You know what I mean? But there's things that just happen, and you live better when you don't ignore them.
Yeah. Well, and I did a whole post this week about intuition, like, living and learning and being in your intuition. Like I call it the tangle with the devil.
Yeah.
Because there's a devil in your head. There's a devil that talks to you. That's your imposter syndrome or whatever you want to call it. But a lot of times, all he's doing is fighting your intuition.
And remember when we had that conversation about life and death, that podcast, is this intuition and this thing we feel, is that experiences from your past life kind of tapping you on the shoulder thinking, hey, dude, you don't do this because
I mean,
we've been through this before.
We don't know.
We don't know. That's the beauty of life. You don't know.
No. You know, your intuition might be ancestral. You know, your intuition might be God. It might be, we don't know. Yeah. But there's that third eye. There's a third eye that exists that we sometimes ignore. And sometimes we have to tap into that instead of ignoring it.
Can we get into a little bit of what's wrong with y'all?
Let's go for it.
I got a couple of them.
Okay.
Your boy Trump. Gets arrested. That was this week he got arrested, right? And so what is up with, and this is when you know you think you are all powerful, because he's in court all humble. The minute he gets out of court, he starts bashing the judge and the DA
and their families.
And it's like,
very personal attacks.
Is he serious? Like, how crazy is that? What's wrong with you? You know, because he thinks he's untouchable.
But also narcissists, when they speak on certain things, you know that there's a level of fear behind it when they speak on it, because what he spoke on mainly was the other case, the other, what is his name? He mentioned him several times.
Cohen?
No, not Cohen.
The January 6th thing?
No. The other judge or the other prosecutor that's going after him. And I think that's Atlanta. Is that the Atlanta one?
The Atlanta one. The Georgia one where he's in real hot water for messing with the election. Yeah. And so it's just, it's kind of crazy. I think he's hoping that he gets reelected before this actually goes to trial.
I know.
Because if he gets reelected, then he's not going to, he's president.
You know, listen, I'm one of those people, you know, I honestly believe there's something to be learned in every situation. Every situation.
Yeah.
I want you to just take the idea of Trump and his belief system in itself. You know, skip all the narcissism and the you know, I'm the Teflon Don and blah, blah, blah.
Right.
Just the level of belief system in itself. But if we all tapped into that belief system in ourselves, how much good, if we did it for good. His is not for good. He's a snake oil salesman. He's one of the best.
But here's the question. Does he truly believe in himself, or is this purely his narcissism?
Yeah, that's true.
You know?
That's true.
Is it a false, does he believe in himself?
Yeah.
Or is he just an attention whore?
Oh,
you know what I mean?
In many ways, I think he enjoys this level of attention no matter what.
This is helping him.
Yeah.
I mean, anytime you get
it's a gamble, but at the
Congress
same time,
members on the streets of New York protesting.
Did you see the young guys with the whistles? Every time Marjorie Taylor Greene tried to talk.
But here's the funny thing. I was watching CNN the other day. Mm-hmm. This was yesterday or day before. They were saying right now, Marjorie Taylor Greene is one of the most powerful people in Congress.
I know.
How?
I know.
I don't even know how that's possible. This is the country. I mean, this is the government that we live, that makes the rules. It's like, for real?
You know, it is literally high school all over again.
Yeah.
It's the popular.
Dude.
But if you really think back to history and who we voted for, it was a popularity vote. It was never about the, you know, we always talk about the policies, and it's always been a popularity vote. Well, because black folk voted for, and as much as he went against us, is Reagan.
Yeah. And here's the thing. Trump wasn't even popular. He lost the popular vote by 3 million votes. The second time he lost by almost 7 million votes or something crazy.
Yeah. But
what person becomes president and the majority of the country doesn't want him there?
Yeah.
Only in this country.
Yeah. And the thing is, I think it was more of we didn't want Trump versus we wanted Biden.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Anything to get him out. That's why Biden became president.
Yeah.
By any means necessary. That's why also he keeps delaying his announcement of whether or not he's going to run. Mm-hmm. Like he said he was going to announce it in December. Mm-hmm. And he just keeps pushing it back because he feels he doesn't need to.
Yeah.
And people who want to step up if he doesn't run are waiting for him to say yes or no. And so it's just kind of shitty that he won't say yes or no right now. Here's the other thing. And I don't care how many of you out here think differently. You can't tell me this wasn't a racist, racial decision that was made. Tennessee. You know exactly where I was going with that. So you have everybody knows what happened with the shooting, and then there was a protest at the state legislature. Can't even get the word out, and 3 state lawmakers were there with the protesters,
right,
and against gun laws and all this stuff. 2 brothers and a white lady.
a 60-year-old white lady.
Yes. The state legislator, for only the 3rd time in history, expelled the 2 brothers and did nothing to the white woman. All 3 of them did the same crime, but only 2 are doing the time. And it's not a crime. Because think about this. What's her name, who was AOC, was talking on CNN last night. She's like, people protest all the time on the Capitol floor. We as legislatures protest things all the time so that's not a crime. The only other 2 times there were people who they're saying urinated on another person's chair. You have
I don't know if that really happened. The head of the one that did the expelling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you had, people who were brought up on charges for money fraud, whatever it was. People who really did
real
crimes did not get expelled, but these 2 got expelled for basically being black.
Expelled. So
kicked out of the state legislature, have their offices removed.
Yeah.
I've never heard of that.
So now there's no representation.
None. From their districts. And you can't tell me they didn't get kicked out purely because they were black, because the white woman had the same was there. They were holding arms, hugging each other.
Yeah.
And she did not get expelled.
And she said that.
Yeah. She spoke up.
Yeah. She said, probably because I'm a 60-year-old white woman.
Yeah. That's crazy, right?
Yeah.
This is the country we live in. And now it's on broad daylight, broad TV.
But the sad part is, as much as we keep saying, that's crazy, man, I can't believe. But this is what's been happening. And this is what we've been avoiding and not paying attention to. It's been happening.
Yeah.
It's been happening over time, many years. And this is prior to Trump. I think things got worse. I hate to say it. Love the man. Things got worse when Obama was president. It spewed because that level of energy behind.
What's her name said it best in Cast. Yeah. You disrupted. You're not supposed to jump levels in your cast. And Obama disrupted it by becoming president. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. He jumped from one level to the next, and you crossed that boundary, and everybody who thought that should never happen rallied behind Donald Trump.
Yes.
That's how he became president.
Yeah.
Because he was the antithesis of what that was.
Right.
The complete effing opposite.
Oh, Jesus.
It's the nature of it, man.
Man, it makes it rough though, boy.
So,
but that doesn't mean your life changes dramatically. You control your life.
You 100%.
You control your life.
So let's talk about how you've been controlling the last 50 of yours. Before we get into that, let's talk about the
sip of the day.
So Coach has a favorite, a newfound favorite.
He says, I have a favorite, but he ain't lying because it's his favorite now too.
So we brought this drink up a few weeks ago, and we're just going we brought it back because
we had to readdress.
We had to readdress this one because it's a house favorite, and Coach, this is his birthday special, so he gets to pick the drink. Tequila Espresso Martini. So you got an ounce of tequila, you got an ounce of Kahlua, you have half an ounce of agave, and you shake it up, shake it, and pour it up in a martini glass. We about to get into Coach's life today, or at least his mind. Happy birthday, brother.
Thank
Cheers.
You.
Oh. That's so good.
Smooth. Smooth.
Let's talk, man.
Tell me about it.
You ready?
I mean,
tell me. So, when you hear 50, what's the first thing that comes to mind?
Who knows when the end of that ladder's coming? when the rest of them ruds.
Like how does that make you feel? Like when somebody says, "Damn, dude, you're 50," because I remember when we were little, 50 seemed a long ways off. That was like next to death.
Yeah.
And then you hit 50 and you're like, huh.
Yeah.
So I'm curious as to does 50 feel like you thought it would feel when you were a kid?
I would say no. 50 actually feels like there's a whole secondary adventure that I'm going into, because I feel like I did a lot of years of growing up post childhood.
Yeah.
And I felt like there was some missing components, and there was some misplacements, and also the idea of getting married early, going through that transition, coming out of a marriage, I feel like once I hit 40, I was like, okay, are we doing something right? Are we doing something wrong? All right. Now I'm moving into a whole different genre. And now I feel like going into 50, I'm like, we got some things to play with. We got some aches. We got some pains. We got some shit we holding on to.
Right.
But at the same time, we're moving forward, and we're moving forward with a little zest, because I feel like for me, what happened was, you think, oh man, when I'm 50, I'm supposed to be here, and here. And then going through the first divorce, or the only divorce. Let's make that clear.
Kenyatta, he said, only divorced.
Yeah. You want to get rid of me? You got to kill me.
Hey, till death do y'all part. I got the shovel.
But the worry, there was a sense of worry before. There was a sense of like, I have not done, or have nots. And I think we do that to ourselves a lot.
Yeah.
A lot of have nots. I've learned, especially over the last couple of years, last year, which is what have, and owning that and being in a good place with that, and say, how can I create on top of that?
When you look back at turning 40, because 40 is a big decade for everybody.
Yes.
When you look back at turning 40 and your expectations of 40, turning 50, do you think you met those expectations of 40, that decade?
No, yes and no. I would say.
What did you expect for that decade? What were you hoping for, and what did you not reach?
Well, I think I was hoping for this huge transition into like what I'm doing now. Okay. Like, oh my God, I'm just going to run right into everything, because let's be honest. I'm just going to be honest. Most of my life, I look back and I'm like, I was just in the right place, right time, had the right energy, just showed up. And then somehow, some way, there were some things that happened post-divorce, going into 40. Mm-hmm. And I was just like, there's this second guessing. There's this second guessing that just kept happening. And then it was like, where the hell? I got to the point I was more concerned, where the hell did that guy show up?
Yeah.
Who is that? Why he keeps coming around? I never met him before. He still ain't told me his name, but he keep talking to me, and I keep listening to him. So now I'm learning to really like I said, I had the whole post, tangle with the devil.
Yeah.
It's learning how to tangle with that devil, and just being in the space of now versus what happened before, what happened then. This is what happened. This is why you're here. And that place of beating yourself up.
Are you now in more control of that devil as you head into the next decade, the sixth decade of life?
Oh, he ain't gone, but way more in control.
That's what I say. Are you?
Way more
I don't think that devil ever leaves.
No. You always gonna have a conversation.
You're gonna put him in a full Nelson from time to time. You got to.
Yeah, it's management.
Y'all don't know about the full Nelson unless you old wrestling watchers like us.
Yeah, because it was full Nelson and half Nelson.
Yes. Right.
I'm trying to slip him into the full Nelson.
Yeah.
I got him in half Nelson though.
Well, semi-control. That's all we could ever hope for.
Yeah.
Yeah. In controlling that devil, or better yet, understanding that devil, what would you tell your 20-year-old self that devil would look like? If you could go back, if you could go back and talk to your 20-year-old self, not your kid self, because your kid self is full of dreams, you dreams and hopes, and then by the time you're 20, a lot of those dreams and hopes got kicked in the nuts. So, what do you tell your seriously? Right? We've all thought one thing, and then like, oh shit, life is now. I'm an adult. So, from the beginning of your adult phase, what do you tell yourself at 20 about the devil inside that you're going to have to wrestle with? Knowing the devil now, what would you go back and tell your 20-year-old self to do differently, if anything?
I would tell my 20-year-old self, maybe learn how to throw learn how to take a punch. Mm-hmm. Because you're going to get hit on the chin, but learn that you hit harder.
Okay.
Learn that it is only a moment. They're only moments. So just be prepared for the moments. Don't get depressed or get beat up about it. They're going to happen, but don't ride high when you're not when you're not in that moment anymore. So learning how to stay just copacetic. Honing in and owning the goods, but also being able to recognize the rough moments and being able to acknowledge and what can you learn from that situation? How's it feeding you now?
What have you learned? 3 things that you've learned that you would tell him.
Oh, 3 things that I learned I would tell him. I would tell him it's okay to cry.
Okay.
I would tell him that your feelings are valid. And I would tell him they're all just moments.
When did you learn that it was okay to cry?
I learned when it was okay to cry, I would say.
And we say that because y'all out there know that men are told man up and not cry.
Right.
So was it before Coach KJ and it was just Kenneth? Or did you learn as you were becoming coach that it was okay?
Well, it's interesting about that. I think I learned, before Coach KJ, but I think I've always been Coach KJ.
Okay.
I think in some way I've always been of service to Coach KJ more than anything because I've instinctively coached people for years. The moment I decided to say, oh, this is going to become official, that's when it's like, oh, it's kind of like being in a relationship for 15 years and you decide to get married. No, it's the same relationship.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And so my question for you is when you look at your life, we all have moments that were like pivotal.
Yeah.
Like you can think back to a moment when you were a child that was like pivotal, that changed something. You can think back to a moment that was pivotal when you early adulthood that changed something. Is there a moment that you can think about where you can say it had such that nobody knows about? So, and I'm going to take one segment out that I know was a pivotal moment for you.
Okay.
I'm going to take away the death of your father.
Okay.
And I'm going to take away your divorce.
Oh.
Is there, aside from those 2 things, is there a moment in your life that was an inspiring moment that's made you open your eyes and be like, okay, didn't know that, but that taught you a lesson about yourself, or that not necessarily changed the direction, but may have pushed you further in the direction you were going? I told you, this ain't going to be easy today.
I got one, but it does involve my father, but it's not the death of my father.
Yeah, that's why I said you're going to take the death of your father out.
There was we were on vacation, There's a circumstance that happened. Main name twist up, a guy that got arrested or did fraud. His name was Kenneth B. Johnson.
Okay.
His birthday was January 31st, 1951.
Okay.
My dad is Kenneth V. Johnson, January 31st, 1952.
Wow.
Black man had wrote bad checks, $250-something. It's Commonwealth, Virginia. So guess what? They go after everybody.
Yep.
He's getting off the plane. North Carolina works with the Commonwealth, Virginia. He gets off the plane. It's happened before. He never said anything to me. So this time they got him. They picked him up at the airport, whatever, take him down.
Book him
and all that stuff. So he calls me. Came back from Jamaica. I find out. I go, drive literally the next morning, drive 4 hours, go to North Carolina. Couldn't see him. And everybody in my family's freaking out. When I'm just thinking back to the story as I'm talking about this. Like, whoo. So everybody's calling me. Well, what are we going to do? 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 I got it.
Right. You're like, how old were you at this time?
I'm 36.
Okay, so not that long ago.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
Everybody's, what are you going to do? I got it.
Right.
Just wait for my call. I got him.
Right.
I don't know what I'm going to do, but I got this. This is what I do.
Right.
I hate to say it this way, but I fix shit.
Right.
When,
you fix
it. I get it done. I don't care. I don't have it. That moment, I had no idea what I was going to do. I was able to reach out to a certain group of people that ended up putting me in touch with the right group of people. I'm going to attorneys. Nobody had any answers for me. I ended up talking to this one gentleman, and he put me in touch with the detective that was over the case. I said, I'm going to need you to look into this a little deeper. This is not the same person. Look at the birth dates. Look at the picture. This is not the same man. How are you able to hold him accountable to something that this is not? The guy that you're looking for, I just found out, passed away. They're like, what?
Wow.
Yeah. And my dad had that amount of money in his pocket. So he's like, dude, I can just give you the money. They're like, no, that doesn't work that way. So they were just going to hold him. And he literally turned himself in where he was going to go back to the Commonwealth and he was going to try to fight it, think he's going to fight it. I was like, this is the system. You're going to get lost in the system.
Oh, yeah.
So I had to bust my ass. Within a week, I got him out.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah. And at that moment, I realized I didn't assess until like at last couple of years, like I just get it done. That's what I do. I don't explain it. I don't try to figure it out.
In that moment, you realize, no, I really do get it done.
Yeah. Yeah. But it took years for me to actually go back to that.
That's a crazy story.
Yeah. Yeah.
For 1 year and one letter.
What?
It's like, come on, man.
Yeah. What's that? Yeah.
Yeah. For one year and one letter.
One letter. Yeah. And his name was Kenneth.
Yeah.
Crazy. Yeah. Johnson. Dark-skinned brother. And, the security cameras used to be horrible.
Yeah.
But you could tell it was not him.
Yeah. How did you end up getting him out?
I ended up talking to the detective that was over it. And I said, you have the wrong person. I need you to really look at this. This is you're about to send a man into the system for $200X amount of dollars, whatever it was at that time. And this man right here that you're talking about has that cash in his pocket. Do you think he would be the same person that writes a bad check? If he has this cash in his pocket right now, he wouldn't live like this. He's living moment to moment. My dad does not. He does, but he doesn't,
Right.
You have to, well, is this you? Like, no, I don't mess with Virginia. I don't mess with North Carolina. I'm mad that I'm having these conversations with you right now.
Right.
Because you are in Virginia and North Carolina. It is still the South.
Right. I try not to go there.
Exactly. So, I mean, I just went back and forth with them. I stayed on them. I stayed on them, and I stayed on them. I stayed on them. And, you know, also it tells you that the system keeps passing things back and forth around. Nobody's ever really on it. So you just got to stay on them.
Oh, for sure.
Tenacity, man.
There's so many people there's so many people that don't have people in their corner like you, who, like I said, end up lost in the system, and they're in there for years waiting on bail.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of crazy. Our system of corrections is just all fucked up, to say the least.
Yeah.
Let me ask you another question, man.
Let me take a sip while you do.
Take a sip, because I got plenty that we're getting into today.
I'll be sipping on his in a minute.
And you're going to stop dropping that glass hard on my table.
Whatever. This guy.
Well, the only reason why I say it is because it's loud. Almost as loud as me.
Well, easy.
Yeah. So, going to dinner.
Okay.
You and your wife. Who you inviting? Anybody you want.
Anybody I want.
Anybody you want. You don't even have to know them personally. Anybody you want. Who you taking to dinner? Notice I said you and your wife. Because I know you ain't going to leave her home.
No, I'm not.
Yeah.
One person?
How many people you want to have dinner with?
Man.
Tell me who you taking to dinner.
I'm taking my family. I'm taking my family.
Okay.
When I say my family, that means you.
Okay.
That means my grandmothers, my grandmother, my mother, my aunt, my cousin. I'm taking my uncles, all my uncles, their wives. I'm having, let's see.
What's for dinner?
Oh, it's going to be steak.
Why did I? Funny thing is, I knew it.
I ain't gonna mess with no seafood,
dude. I knew it.
I see that food and run.
Right. I would have guessed steak.
Oh, it's always gonna be steak. Yeah, it's gonna be steak. It's gonna be succulent. It's gonna be well cooked, plenty of butter. Yeah, no, I'm a family guy. I like seeing them together, and that means both sides, my mom's side and my father's side of the family. I like when they're all together.
All right. Now, take your family out of it. I'm going to flip it a little bit.
Okay.
Because somebody asked me this and said, you know, if you could have a dinner party, what 5 people would you invite? I'm going to flip the script a little bit.
Okay.
Who would be your ideal 3 people to sit in a hot seat if we were doing a podcast and interviewing them and having a conversation? Who would be your top 3 people you would have sit in this hot seat? And why?
I would say one, it'd probably be Jay-Z.
Okay. Why?
Why? Because he's someone that has transitioned from the drug world, street guy, but still a mama's boy. You know, he loves his mother dearly. He's someone that is worth billions. I think he gives when there's no sight of what he gave. I think that, you know, there's an expectation of just because he's this rapper, he's a certain person. And I think he's way beyond that.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I think he's just overall just a prolific guy. And also I want to ask him why he grows dreads.
I was just about to say, what would be the first question you ask him?
Why you grow your dreads, man?
Yeah. Who's the second person?
You might laugh when I say this. I would probably be Kanye West.
Okay.
I'll say
why.
I want to see how far that demon goes in his head.
See what devil he's actually wrestling with.
Yeah, I really would like to know.
What's the first question you would ask him?
What happened between you two? what really happened
between Jay and him. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Was it monetary, or was there something?
Does it go deeper than that? Who's number 3?
Number 3, I would probably say Samuel Jackson.
Okay, good one.
Being that he's a Morehouse brother, being that he is someone that I consider him, for someone that's an actor, a true bootstrap guy.
He definitely made his own way.
And he's probably, I think his movie catalog is probably the richest in cinema history.
Yeah, he's got so many. He's the most prolific, one of the most prolific.
Yeah, well, when you did Star Wars and the Marvel universe, that alone, those are 2 multi-billion-dollar, but
you start Jungle Fever, Coming to America.
Yeah.
I mean, he's always never not worked.
He's been in everything.
Yeah,
and also being that you're a former drug addict, you got kicked out of Morehouse,
and his career started late.
Yeah,
he wasn't acting at 10, 15, and 20. Yeah. He's acting at 40.
Yeah, he got kicked out of Morehouse and got brought back years later. That's why him and Spike are close, because I think he came back during while Spike was there. But no, is he the greatest actor in the world? No,
but he plays his roles well.
But he's in everything without ever saying it. My question to him is, why are you so big without being big? Why are you so big without even being big? You don't have to have the biggest role.
That would be your question for him.
That'd be one of my first questions.
All right, I could dig those 3 people.
And the second one was like, can you talk to these 2 and find out why they mess up? Because this was dynasty right here that they blew up.
And that's why I tend to think it's not just money.
Oh, beyond money.
Because you're not going to blow up a dynasty for money.
No.
So I know how you would have dinner. I know who you'd want to talk to. I'm curious because I have an idea how you're gonna answer this. Who's been your biggest inspiration?
My biggest inspiration.
And why? One person who's inspired you the most, life-wise. Either it's somebody you know or somebody whose life has inspired you the most.
Interesting. I would say someone that has inspired me most, I would say probably my mother.
Okay.
My mother. She showed me that you work hard, you can enjoy life. You can do things. You can enjoy the life that you have, no matter where you are. There's things that she did for me that I'm still finding out to this day. You're like, wow. So I'm just walking away like just baffled. Like, wow.
Who taught you the toughest lessons?
Taught me the toughest lessons.
And let's back it up. Mm-hmm. What were the hardest lessons in life so far that you've had to learn? And who taught them to you? How did you learn those lessons? Do 3. I like 3s.
Yeah. Toughest lessons. Who taught me the toughest lessons? I don't know.
Like, what are the hardest things, the hardest realizations that you've had to learn about yourself? And did you just learn it yourself, or did somebody point it out to you and make you realize it?
I would say probably between and this is hard to explain, my brother's father,
okay,
who's passed away, and probably my mother.
Okay, what were those lessons?
One of the toughest lessons was that, well, he kind of painted the picture, which way too early, which kind of skewed me as a kid. I was like, oh, okay, 15 years old, 16 years old. You know, I was big and heavy into basketball.
Okay.
And he told me, it's like, yeah, this is going to be as good as it gets for you.
You didn't want to hear that.
No.
At all.
No.
Yeah.
But, you know, I was such a modest child. I was a sensitive child. So, but I took things on the chin without ever saying anything. So nobody ever knew that information came to me and how I felt about it years later. Like, I mean, when I say years later, they're like, oh yeah, Marvin said this. They're like, oh, well, that was messed up. I'm like, yeah, it was, but I didn't go any further. So I guess I really took that on the chin. Whether I could or could not have, I didn't really pursue it to the degree that I probably could have as a basketball player. I mean, I was die hard.
Yeah.
Die hard, you know.
Yeah.
So, and even did well after even what he said. But after high school, it was kind of like, okay, this is it. I'm trying to think of another tough lesson.
That's a good one, though.
Yeah. I think just, you know, I feel like I learned more lesson just from the world.
Just which
being, like the world gives me lessons. And I've always been very good at taking things in, sometimes taking too much in. And taking on the chin way too much,
right?
And absorbing, but no reverberation,
right.
No extension back out,
right?
I would say probably one of the other toughest lessons is that the only thing that I can never go back to, really honestly, is divorce. Because when I say divorce, what happened was it was the first time in my life that there was a lack of completion.
Gotcha.
Even though it was, and then I had to learn how to get out of that and say, no, it was complete. Because that completion doesn't always mean always to the end. The end has its own parameters.
Right.
And that in order
what
for
you
me
thought
to
was complete, this was actually the completion of it.
Yeah.
It ran its course.
Yeah.
And it was time to be done.
Yeah. Yeah.
With learning these lessons, something popped up in my head, and I was like, oh, let me ask him this. What do you think your biggest regret or your biggest L in life so far? What's like that biggest hit, that biggest loss you've had in life so far, that biggest regret? Like you're like, I wish I did that different.
This is not going to sound nice, but
it's all right. I'm not supposed to. This is you.
Yeah, no.
We're just getting in it.
Should have got out of my marriage earlier.
Okay.
Should have moved back to LA way earlier.
Okay.
That was one of my biggest regrets. I was too busy holding on, trying to figure it out. Oh, it's gonna work its way out. Oh, it's on its way. Ooh. You know, because we had that okie doke kid in your head. Oh, it's gonna be okay. You gonna figure it out. And that ain't the truth. But one of the things that I've been living in as of late, and not to go to right now, but at the same time, just kind of see where, you know, from a frame of reference where it sits is, you know, one of the things that I keep talking about now, more importantly, is you are exactly where you need to be in order to get to where you want to go.
So the opposite of that, what do you think to date has been, and I'm not going to let you say this, aside from your current marriage,
okay,
what has been your biggest W? Your biggest win to date? Because there's many more wins to come.
Oh.
Aside from meeting your wife and marrying her, what has been your next biggest win? I threw a softball at you. Your next biggest win to date.
I'm going to tell you my biggest win.
Yeah.
My biggest win is going to and finishing Morehouse. And I'm going to tell you why. So when I was in junior college, I made the decision because my cousin was at Howard, I was going to go to Morehouse. That's, we had it worked out. You know what I mean? We're going to be that coastal family thing.
Yeah.
So when he had just gotten into Howard, I was like, okay, well, I'm going to go to Morehouse. I applied, didn't get in. Instead of, and this is something that keeps coming back to me as of recent. That's why it's so fresh in my head, because I just had this story come out recently. Instead of waiting and frustrated or whatever, I bought myself a plane ticket, flew down, got on the MARTA, never been there, got off at campus, walked in, stayed on my boy's floor for 2 days, walked into, as soon as I got there, the next morning, suited and booted, walked into the administration office, went in to meet the counselor that denied me. Excuse me, sir, my name is Kenneth Johnson, and I was denied admission to Morehouse College, and I would like to know what it is that I need to do in order to get in next year. I'm not going anywhere else. I did get into Howard and I did get into Hampton, but I'm not going there. I'm coming to Morehouse. So can you please let me know what it is I need to do to go here? To go here. And you say, oh, okay. Well, he looked up my point. Well, man, you need to pull this up, This, okay. When do you need this information by? He told me. I said, okay. I said, so I have your word that once I do this,
right,
we're good.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah. So went home, killed that next semester, killed summer school, overtook classes in summer school, killed it that following semester, that fall semester. Not even reapplied, just send him my transcripts.
Okay.
He's like, yeah, bro, you in. I was like, okay.
Right. That's that solid work.
Yeah. 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 It's kind of like when you do sales. They always say when you go into a job, you walk around, you look, and you say, oh, I'm just trying to figure out where my desk is going to be.
You want what you want.
Yeah.
It's that simple. You weren't trying to sell yourself. You're like, tell me what I need to come to school here.
Yeah.
And then if I meet those requirements, tell me why I can't. One more serious question, then we're going to get to some other stuff that I'm just curious about.
Okay.
We all have them. Some people like to deny it. Some people try to hide them. I'm going to make you point one of yours out.
Okay.
What do you think your biggest insecurity is?
My biggest insecurity is I'm never good enough.
And that demon, how do you fight it? Is it a daily struggle, daily fight? Or are you slowly, as the decades, because we got a few decades behind us, more behind us than in front, as these decades go by, are you learning more and more?
Coping mechanisms?
Not even a coping mechanism.
Okay.
Are you learning more and more that you are good enough?
Oh, 100%.
Because I think we all have a little bit of that in us.
Yeah. It comes back to, and I like to use this word all the time, ownership. There's only one person you own, you. So, you either gonna polish it off and put it on the road, or you gonna leave it in the garage.
Right.
So I'm making the decision to polish it off and keep it on the road. Make sure keep that tune up.
Yeah,
all the oils are good. Because
make sure the valves are lubed and good. These pistons gotta keep popping for a while.
Right. Because there's no other car.
No.
But I think that. The one thing that I constantly say to myself is every time it comes up, and sometimes before it comes up, is, okay, well, prove it.
Yeah.
Prove it.
Now, would you say that would also be your biggest flaw? Like your biggest character flaw?
What?
The insecurity that we just talked about? Or would you say, no, one of my biggest flaws is this?
No, it would be something else. Okay. My biggest character flaw is
physical flaw, character flaw, however you want to do it. In your mind, when you wake up and you're like, this is the one thing right now that I'm trying to work on and change. This is what I see as a negative in myself. Other people may not see it, but this is what I see that I'm trying to make better.
Yeah. I would say my biggest character flaw is that I put on face way too easy.
Okay.
And make it seem like everything's wonderful when it ain't always wonderful. I think that's a character flaw.
Yeah.
Because it is not real. It's not who you're genuinely designed to be and being in that moment. And I think you're robbing yourself of the opportunity to actually get better.
Okay. What is, on the flip side, your biggest or your best trait? Like your biggest asset, your biggest character trait that you're like, you know what? I'm proud of this with me. This is Kenneth.
I think it's to be 100% present with someone. I sit in that moment. I'm not escaping them. I'm not running from them. I'm not waiting for them to finish whatever they're saying so I can say whatever I have to say. When I ask, how are you? Sometimes I will double down, and you know this from me. Yeah. I'll double down and no, seriously, how are you?
Y'all, he's done that to me, and he's like, how are you? I'm good. And he's like, no. Dude, how are you?
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, well, now that you really asked, now that I realize that you actually give a shit, here's how I really am.
Yeah. I believe that people are just looking for someone to see them. And I would, if I could be that one person in the day that sees you, I've done what I was supposed to do, because people they don't feel seen.
And these are words from somebody who has a lot of integrity. So I'm going to challenge that integrity by asking him a question. Do you believe that everybody has a price?
Yeah. Yeah.
Can you be bought? And what I mean by does everybody have a price? Is there a price that would make you go against your morals?
I'm sure I could be bought.
Anybody that says they can't hasn't been tested. I'm just saying.
I mean, there are a lot of areas and places and things in life that,
I mean, there's things I absolutely couldn't bring myself to do.
Right.
No matter what the price is.
We'll keep it there.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there are certain things, but things that you think morally, you're like, there's no way. The price just hasn't been high enough. And I can't ask you what that price would be.
Right.
But if somebody opened a suitcase full of money and is staring you a promise of money versus a suitcase in front of you,
right,
two different things.
Yeah.
You may say $1 million, but if somebody had 100,000 and put it in front of you, you're gonna be like, right, I might consider.
Always that indecent proposal.
Exactly, right?
Yeah. We always say I won't. That's just like when we're watching television, we always see someone fighting or whatever, or something happens. You're like, I'll knock him out, or I'll do. You don't know what the circumstances are, right, and being in that situation.
I was watching a clip of some show, and there's this guy who's a rancher. I don't know if you saw this on Instagram. Rancher who owns this big ranch. And this woman walks, is at his house, and she's like, okay, I want to buy this ranch right now. He's like, it's not for sale. I'm never giving up my family's home, this, that, and the other. She's like, what price would make you give up this ranch right now? And he just kind of thought for a minute. He just kind of chuckled. He's like, $8 million. The dude that was with her, she just looked at him. He pulls out a checkbook, hands him a check for whatever that price was. Mm-hmm. And she looked at him. He's like, she's like, now get out of my house. That simple. It went from, I would never sell my family's home to get out of my house.
Yeah, so be careful what you ask for.
Be careful of that price.
Yeah.
You know.
That's right.
So here's a question for you. 2 scenarios.
Okay.
This is kind of fun. Travel anywhere you want, however you want, for the rest of your life for free. Or never travel. This plays off of what we talked about earlier today. Never travel from your hometown and live rent mortgage free the rest of your life.
Now, how will I be able to pay rent and mortgage?
No, the same way you're traveling.
Okay.
You pay rent and mortgage by working.
Okay.
Your travel's
so
free.
My travel's free. So my life is on the road.
Your travel is free, but you still have to pay where you live, rent, mortgage, and all of that. Or you can never travel again. You not even pay to travel. You never travel again, but you have to stay in your hometown, rent-free, mortgage-free forever.
I think I'm going to take the travel.
Exactly.
I think I'm going to take the travel. And, I think about one of my friends who his dad passed away some time ago, and his mother decided, they're well off. They're doing well, but she made the decision. She sold the house, and she just travels the world. He says every time he gets a call from her, she's somewhere else in the world.
Yeah.
She just takes the money and she just stays here or she stays there. But she continues to travel. She just sees the world.
Yeah. And I think about it as if when you tell somebody you get to live rent-free, mortgage-free, the first thing that clicks in their mind, if they absolutely hate their job, I don't have to work anymore.
No, that's not it.
You know what I mean? If you don't mind working, you're no longer working to be able to take vacation on that, because your vacation is you're flying private. You're staying in 5-star hotels whenever you travel. Wherever you want to go, it's handled. You just got to take time off from work to go. You still got to pay your bills at home, but your vacations and your travel expenses, even if you want to just drive to Vegas, covered. Wherever you want to go, whenever you want to go, covered. To me, way more valuable.
Oh, well, I think also it'll increase your value when you actually are home and working.
Because think about the life experiences you're going to get.
Right. But you're not concerned about necessarily money. You're concerned about when you are working, you're now sharing, because you're bringing all that experience to work.
Your life changes.
Your life changes dramatically. And then you're probably going to improve the lives of at least 3 to 5 people on a low end around you. So then your human experience in life has increased the value of other people's human experience, because you have encouraged them to want to experience more in life.
Question for you.
I think they're all questions for me.
Some of them in statements. This question. This is one I'm just curious about too. Do you have any vices? And if you do, are there 3 things that you absolutely just say, you know what, I can't live without these. These have to be a part of my world.
Do I have any vices?
Things that you enjoy doing, or things that you have or that you own that you're like, this is, I don't want to, I would not only not want to, it would be very hard for me to give these things up.
I would say one of my vices is definitely books.
Okay.
I can give that up though, but I'm only going to read what I want to read. So that alone, whether
that's a big part of your life though, reading.
It's a big part of my life. I enjoy reading.
I mean, I know, because you've turned me on to books that I would never think to read in the beginning.
I think another vice that I have,
smoking weed. Oh, I'm sorry, you ain't Snoop. This brother doesn't smoke.
No, I don't have many vices.
What if I told you you could never go to the gym anymore? You can't work out.
Well, that is a vice. Yeah,
you know what I mean?
True.
So that's one of the things you can't live without.
Yeah. And even though there are moments where I'm just like, I can't do this, those are the moments where I'm like, I'm actually in front of the gym still. Or I'm in the gym and I'm just like, yeah, I'm not feeling it today. I'll pull back, but I'm going to work out in some capacity.
Right.
I may not look the way I want to be because we have these ideal things in our head of what we want to be, but
you're always going to move.
I'm always going to move. I think life is about movement and moving.
And as we start to bring this to a close, this is probably one of the toughest questions that people never think about. You get 3 wishes. Only 3.
Okay.
What would they be and why?
3 wishes. Sound like
if you choose one, you don't get the other 2.
Huh?
If you have to choose 3. You can't choose one and then I'm done.
Okay, I got you.
You have to choose 3 or none. I'm not letting you get off on it. I just want world peace. I'm done. No.
No, it wouldn't even be world peace.
No, I'm just throwing that out there because you hear people say that shit and it's like,
come on, man. I have 3 wishes. 1, I wish people will open up to the opportunity of being able to listen to others. We don't have to all believe in the same thing, but at least be able to hear what other people have to say without judgment, without casting your opinion, or just sharing.
Why would you want that to be one of your 3 wishes?
Because
it's interesting because you want something for other people.
Yes, because I value the idea of everybody being able to have a good human experience and be able to take away something good from someone. And it doesn't have to necessarily be good, but they at least be able to hear what they're experiencing. They don't have to be the biggest empath in the world or whatever, but to be able to hear and acknowledge versus like cutting people off.
Okay.
I think that's an avoidance of what life is really meant to be. And we don't have to always agree, but I think there's an avoidance. And I think we need to learn to experience what other people, not experience, but hear what other people are experiencing. The second thing is I would definitely take a heavy payout. And it's
in what way how would you structure your quote unquote heavy payout? What are you hoping to accomplish from the heavy payout?
I'm looking to accomplish a very leisure lifestyle,
financial freedom,
ability to help others in need and educate others that need it. So it's a little twofold with that one. And 3, the idea that I could write a check and not actually worry about it.
So every action has a reaction.
What about my 3rd?
No, we're gonna get to your 3rd. I'm gonna give you the reaction. The reaction to the first one.
Okay.
Is you want everybody to be able to just feel, hear, and understand the world around them, be able to communicate better. Right? Is that kind of the gist of what you were saying?
The gist, yeah.
Okay. There is no negative reaction to that. I think, Good point. But here's the thing. Everybody can feel and hear and understand and communicate better. What happens when they do that? They start hating each other more because they really hear and understand what people are truly thinking. So that's just the reaction. Since you didn't state that you want the wealth you stated you want the wealth so you can help others and yourself and blah, blah, whatever. There's no unlimited supply of money. So who's getting broke to make you rich?
I ain't worried about it.
Right? So that's why I was going to say, that's why these questions are interesting.
I mean,
Trump.
You need me to pick up on your end of the podcast,
I got you, man.
I'll write that check for your surgery you cut on somebody else. Because you ain't going to stop cutting.
It's an interesting thought, though, right?
Yeah.
What's number 3?
Number 3 is that beach house. That wonderful beach house on the beach.
But isn't that kind of number 2? because you said you want to write a check and never have to worry about it. So you can write a check for that. Yeah, because you can write a check for that beach house. So you're not getting off the hook with that one. Anything that money can buy fits into number 2.
Okay, all right.
Now what's number 3?
Number 3 is...
it's not easy, right?
No, it's
not. Somebody's like, Genie says you can have what you want because you get these 3.
Yeah.
3 or none.
Number 3 is to pursue a career in acting.
Pursue or have one?
Have one.
Yeah. Because you can pursue all day and never get a job. Right? There's a lot of people out there.
This is true.
Okay.
But if I have all the money in the world, I can always show up easy.
You can show up, but that doesn't mean somebody's going to give you a job.
Yeah. But guess what?
Nice.
If you got money,
things happen.
You ain't worried necessarily about how you show up because you're just showing up as is because you ain't worried about the money.
Yeah. You're absolutely right.
Yeah. Money makes a difference. People show up differently. If you hungry, you gonna fight to be fed.
Yep. It's funny because somebody asked me that, and it took me a second.
Okay.
And I'll throw 3 out you, and then we'll close out.
Okay.
First one, I would love to be able to any language I hear immediately be able to speak it fluently.
Okay.
Number 2, have a credit card with no limit that never needs to be paid. Number 3.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
That's a good one. Oof. Oof. I mean, because we don't even deal in cash anymore.
No. Number 3 for me would be I don't want to know what people think.
Okay.
You know what I mean? But I would say have the ability to fully understand me.
My question to you with that is,
Yeah.
do you fully understand you?
No, that's why I said that would be one of my wishes.
Okay. Oh.
Yeah, that would be my third wish.
I thought you meant for others to fully understand.
No. My third wish is for me to fully understand me.
Oh my God.
Why.
You sound like AI.
And I'll tell you the reason why I said the first one is because if you can communicate with anybody anywhere in their native tongue, whether it's Ebonics, whether it's slang, whatever it may be, there's nothing you can't accomplish because you're immediately connected. And now that opens doors for business, blah, 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 all that stuff. The credit card thing is just because I don't want unlimited supply of money. I want an unlimited supply of credit. And then that can get me money.
Right.
And then the third thing, if I fully understand me and how my brain and heart works, I can tune into whatever I want.
Oh, yeah. Well, let me tell you, if you have the ability to interpret what other people are saying in their language, number 3 wouldn't be surprising. You'll be more connected to number 3.
Yeah.
You have to be.
That would be sort of my thoughts.
Which means that you're working probably with like 1 to 2% more of your brain capacity.
And that's
huge.
I don't need Limitless, the movie. I just need a little more.
Yeah.
That's all. Give me 5% more, changes my life. You don't need to do nothing else for me.
5% more, you'll probably be reading minds.
Right. Dude.
Oh, that was awesome.
Coach KJ.
I wasn't ready.
You know?
I wasn't ready.
This is 50. Yeah. We are here.
We are definitely here.
He tossed it to me and I tossed it back, and this is how we're about to roll through the next decade, man.
Oh man. Ooh.
And the decade after that. We're gonna like you were saying earlier, we're gonna ride it till the wheels fall off.
Till the wheels fall off.
Plain and simple, man. Where they gonna find you, Coach?
Coach KJ Knows on Instagram. Coach KJ Knows. Gonna be some interesting stuff going on this week. Anyway, and you can also find us podcastsoe.com
and SOE_podcast on IG. Yeah. You'll find me at Lionel Hunt on IG. You'll also find me at huntspine.com. And we just, dude, we're going to bring this to you every week, trying to make a difference, make y'all laugh, smile, cry, entertained, educate you, and just bring it. Happy birthday, man.
Thank you, brother. We out.